Hello and welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to crochet myself a sweater. This is a basic sweater made with double crochets and front post and back post double crochets for the ribbon. This is a Raglan sleeve sweater crocheted from the top to the bottom. Usually when I create video tutorials I also write written patterns. However, for this project, I'm not going to do so. And that is because with written patterns, people expect to have a specific amount of stitches and specific exact measurements so that they can follow the pattern exactly and create the project. I'm afraid I won't be able to come up with those exact calculations, exact numbers of stitches and exact measurements because making a perfect fit sweater is going to depend on so many things. For instance, I use the yarn that is now discontinued, so it doesn't really make sense writing a pattern for this specific yarn anymore. It's also going to depend on what size you're making, as well as your crochet tension. So instead of trying to create an exact pattern that would fit all the sizes, crochet tensions and yarns possible, I'm going to make a detailed step-by-step video in which I will show you how to take the measurements, how to make the calculations, so you can crochet this sweater that will perfectly fit you. I would rate the difficulty of this project as intermediate. I do not recommend this project to beginners, and even for the intermediate and advanced crocheters, I recommend watching the video through because there are some math calculations involved which might look quite overwhelming at first. By the way, the decorative ribbon lacing and the bow on the back were not intentional. I do quite like the way it looks, but like I said, it was not intentional, and you will see in the video how it came to be, and perhaps that's another reason to watch the video through. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the yarn that I used is now discontinued. This yarn is Wellness Baby by Loops and Threads. This is a category 200% acrylic yarn, and I used about 1200 yards or 375 grams. I work with a hook size E 3.5 millimeters. You can crochet a sweater like this with a variety of yarns. I recommend using light yarns, either category 2 or 3, DK or sport yarns. And notice how neat and straight my double crochets are, and that's because I crochet double crochets inserting the hook under 3 loops and not 2. That is something that I mention in my video tutorials quite often, and again I will mention it in this tutorial later on. And before I start the tutorial, I want to thank all of you who supported me through Ko-fi.com by making a donation, creating tutorials, especially for big crochet items like this one, filming, editing, all of it takes a lot of time, so I really appreciate all of you who support my work and my channel. Thank you. The very first step is making a swatch. This is what I made here. Using the same size hook that I will use to make my sweater, I made this swatch. I started with 32 chains, so there are 30 double crochets in the row, and I crocheted 13 rows. This is going to be enough to make my measurements and to calculate my crochet tension and my gauge. However, before I do that, a very important thing to do is to wash it, because I want my sweater to fit me perfectly, not only when it's just made, but after some washings as well. Here I washed it and I'm going to leave it to dry, and later on I will make my measurements and calculate my gauge. Here I have my washed swatch. And now I'm going to figure out my crochet tension. I will need a measuring tape for that. So I'm going to take 5 inches and count how many double crochets I have in 5 inches. So in 5 inches I have 22 stitches. And I'm going to write it down. So 5 inches has 22 stitches. Now I want to figure out how many stitches are gonna be in 1 inch. So what I do is I divide 22 by 5. So 22 divided by 5, and I get 4.4. Next, I'm going to take a measurement around my head. So I'm going to measure the circumference of my head. And I will write it down. And in my case, it is 21 inches. Now, to this measurement around the head, you're going to add 3 inches. No matter what size you're going to make, you're always going to add 3 inches. So I get 24 inches. That means that I need to start with a chain that would be 24 inches long, but I need to take into account my crochet tension, so we are not done yet. What I'm going to do now is calculate with how many chains I'm going to start. So what I do is I multiply 24 inches right here. I multiply it by 4.4 because I have 4.4 stitches in 1 inch. And I get 105.6. Now, I cannot have a 0.6 of a chain or 0.6 of a stitch, so I'm going to round it to 106. Now, because I'm making a sweater with Raglan lines, there are gonna be 4 of those Raglan lines, I'm going to subtract 4 from this last number. So 106 minus 4 gives me 102. I'm going to figure out how many chains gonna go on the front, back, and the sleeves. So with this last number right here, 102, I'm now going to divide it in 3 parts. 1 part for the front, 1 part for the back, and 1 part for the sleeves. So 102 divided by 3 gives me 34. So in this case, my number came out as a whole number. However, if in your calculations, this number comes out as a decimal, you just need to figure out what the remainder is. And then you will add that remainder stitch or that remainder chain to the front. You will see in a moment in the following calculations. So now I know that the front of my sweater will take 34 chains. The back will also take 34 chains, and the sleeves will take 34 chains. But because I have 2 sleeves, I divide it by 2 and I get 17. So 17 chains or 17 stitches for each sleeve. Now I'm going to draw a circle and split my chains and stitches. So I know that there are gonna be 4 chains that gonna go for the Raglan lines. So 1, 1, 1, 1. This is my back. So the back is 34. There is also 34 for the front. These are gonna be my sleeves, and it's gonna be 17 and 17. Now, like I said, all of my calculations came out to be whole numbers, but that may not be the case in your calculations. If you come up with a decimal, then you need to figure out what the remainder is. It's gonna be either 1 or 2, and you will add those remainders to the front. So over here, you will add those 2 stitches or 2 chains to the front. What I'm going to do next is narrowing the back a little bit and widening my front, because I want the front of a sweater to be slightly wider than the back. And I'm going to subtract 1 inch from the back. And since I know that 1 inch has 4.4 stitches in it, I will round this to 5 stitches. So I'm subtracting 5 stitches from the back, which gives me 29. And I'm adding these 5 stitches to the front, which gives me 39. So now I know that when I start with 106 chain, so chain 106, I know how all of these chains will be split between these 4 parts. And here all of my calculations again, and I redrew my circle so it's nice and easy to see how many stitches, how many chains gonna go where. I'm going to start crocheting on the back of my sweater, and in the middle of the back, that's where I will be joining each round. So I know that the back is gonna take 29 chains, and I need to split it in half. That would be 14.5, but I cannot split a stitch or a chain into half, so I'm gonna do 15 and 14. So when I start crocheting, first I will make 15 stitches here, and then once I crochet it all the way around, I will make 14 stitches here, and I will join it over there. And now that I have all of my calculations done, I can finally start crocheting. And I start with 106 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here I have 106 chains, and I'm going to join them into a ring with a slip stitch, and I need to be very careful not to twist the chain. And I'm ready to start my first row. I start with 3 chains, and these 3 chains will count as my first double crochet. Now over here in my sketch, I need to make 15 double crochets, so 15 stitches. So these 3 chains already count as 1. So now I will make 14 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 13, and 14. So let's double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15. Now into the next chain, this is where my raglan line is gonna be. So into the next chain, I work a double crochet, 1 chain, and a double crochet. Next I have 17 stitches for the sleeve, so I'm going to make a single crochet into each one of the next 17 chains. 1, 2, 3. Here I made 17 double crochets, and into the next chain I make a double crochet, then 1 chain and 1 more double crochet, because this is gonna be my raglan line. So now I'm over here, and for the front I need to make 39 double crochets. So I continue crocheting, counting my stitches, and I need to make 39 of them. 1, 2, 3. Here I made 39 double crochets, and with this one that was made 2 double crochets into the same chain, it's 40. Now into the next chain, again for my raglan line, I make a double crochet, 1 chain, and a double crochet. The next I will be working on the sleeve, so that's 17 stitches. So into each one of the next 17 chains I will make a double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Here I made 17 double crochets. Into the next chain I make a double crochet, 1 chain, and a double crochet. So this is my last 4th raglan line, and now I need to make 14 double crochets to get to the end of this round. So I make a double crochet into each chain. 1, 2, 3, and here I made 14 stitches, and now I join with a slip stitch to the top chain of the beginning chain 3. And my first round is finished. Now for the next round I will start with the beginning double crochet, because if I continue with chain 3, there's gonna be a slightly noticeable seam on the back of my sweater. So I want to reduce the visibility of that seam as much as possible. So I'm going to start with the beginning double crochet. I pull up the loop a bit higher, I wrap it around the hook, insert the hook, throw up a loop, and finish my beginning double crochet. And now I will make a double crochet into each double crochet across to this chain 1. And note here that I'm making my double crochets directly into the double crochet of the previous round, not simply under these 2 loops on the top, but over here inserting the hook under 3 loops. That way my double crochets will be straightly aligned, one on top of the other. And now into this chain 1 space, I make a double crochet, 1 chain, and a double crochet. And now I continue crocheting, making a double crochet into each double crochet, and into each one of my 4 chain 1 spaces I will work a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Here I am at the next raglan line, so again into this chain 1 space I make a double crochet, 1 chain, and a double crochet. And that's how I'm going to continue crocheting this round, simply making double crochets and into the chain 1 spaces making a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Here I finished this round, and at the end of the round I join with a slip stitch in top of my first beginning double crochet. And I start round number 3 the same way with a beginning double crochet. And now I continue crocheting the same way I did before, making a double crochet into each double crochet and making double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into each chain 1 space. And here I completed 17 rounds, and the length of my raglan line over here is 7 inches or about 18 centimeters. So at this point I will join my sweater at the raglan lines, and I will continue crocheting in the round, working on the body of the sweater. However, I won't simply join it right here. I will add several stitches for the underarms. And here is how I'm going to calculate how many stitches to add. First, I'm going to count all the stitches that I have on the front and on the back of my sweater. Beginning from this corner, not counting the chain, but only counting double crochets. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 73. So I have 73 stitches on the front, and now I will count them on the back. And on the back I have 63 stitches. So on the front I have 73 stitches, and I have 63 stitches on the back, which gives me 136 stitches in total. Now I need to take 8% of 136. So I'm going to multiply it 136 times 0.08, 10.88, and I'm going to round that to 10 stitches because I need an even amount of stitches so that I can split it between 2 sleeves, which means that I will add 5 stitches on each side. So this is the back of my sweater, and actually I am still getting somewhat noticeable seam over here. Not really a seam, but some spaces when the rounds are joined. So I don't know, I don't like it, but I'll try to figure something out once the sweater is finished. Perhaps I'll just use a sewing thread and needle to close these spaces here. We'll see later. Okay, so I start the next round the way I did before, with a beginning double crochet, and I will make a double crochet into each double crochet all the way to this chain 1. And here I am at the chain 1. I'm going to skip all of these double crochets all the way to the next chain 1, because that's gonna be my sleeve. However, before I join, I'm going to make 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I'm going to add 5 stitches for each sleeve. And now I continue crocheting, making double crochet. Starting from here, I skip the chain 1, and starting from here, I make a double crochet into each double crochet, and basically I will continue crocheting on the front of the sweater. And here I got to the next raglan line. This is gonna be my sleeve, and again I'm doing the same thing. I make 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I continue crocheting over here into this first double crochet after the chain 1. So here I have the second opening for the sleeve, and now I'm basically continuing to crochet on the back of my sweater, and I will join the round over here. So I finished and joined that round, and now I started the next one the same way, and again I will continue crocheting all the way to this chain 5, making a double crochet into each double crochet. Now I will make a double crochet into each one of these 5 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's how I get 5 stitches for the underarm. Now I continue crocheting on the front of my sweater, making a double crochet into each double crochet all the way across to the second chain 5, and here again I will make a double crochet into each chain, and that's how I will finish this round. And now I finished this round, so here I have 5 stitches on each side for the underarms, and at this point it's a good idea to try it on and see if it feels comfortable, if there is enough space for the arms. All I'm going to do is to crochet in the round, working on the body of my sweater. This is going to be quite nice and relaxing. I don't need to worry about increases, decreases, nothing. So here I crocheted my sweater. I reached the needed length, and my sweater measures 18.5 inches or 47 centimeters. And at this point I can start working on the ribbing on my sweater. And for the ribbon, I'm going to use front post double crochets and back post double crochets. So I start with 1 chain and I pull up the loop a bit higher, and then around this beginning double crochet of the previous round, I work a front post double crochet. Then around the next double crochet, I work a back post double crochet. And now I begin to alternate. I make a front post double crochet and a back post double crochet. And that's how I continue crocheting. And here I finished this round. I joined with a slip stitch to the first front post double crochet, and now I'm going to make a few more rounds of front post double crochets and back post double crochets. So the next round I start with 1 chain, and then I make a front post double crochet around this first front post double crochet, and then around the next back post double crochet, I make a back post double crochet, and that's how I continue, and I will make a few more rounds. And I made 5 rounds in total, and now I can fasten off and hide the yarn tail. Now I can start working on the sleeves. I will attach yarn. Over here I had 5 double crochets, so into the middle one, the third one, I attach yarn, and I start with 3 chains. They will count as my first double crochet, and then I make a double crochet into the next double crochet, and this little yarn tail I'm going to crochet over it so it will get hidden in my work. Next I make a double crochet into the next double crochet. Next I have a row of double crochets over here, so I have a double crochet here horizontally, and under that double crochet I work a double crochet. Next I have a double crochet, then 1 chain space and a double crochet, and I work a double crochet into that next double crochet. I work a double crochet under the chain 1 or into the chain 1 space, and now I will continue working over here, making a double crochet into each double crochet, and I will continue crocheting all the way around to when I get to this side. And here again I make a double crochet into the double crochet, then into the chain 1 space, make a double crochet into next double crochet, then I have 1 horizontal double crochet over here, so I make a double crochet under that double crochet, and then I have a few double crochets over here, and I work a double crochet into each one of them. And now I join with a slip stitch to the top chain of the beginning chain 3. So here I have 1 round of the sleeve, and I'm going to make decreases in every other round. I'm also going to start every round a bit differently than I started over here on the back, because I don't like these spaces in between double crochets. So here is how I start my next round. I make 1 chain and I pull it a bit higher. Then into this first double crochet, I work a double crochet. Now I'm going to make a decrease over the next 2 double crochets. So basically I make 2 double crochets finished together. So here is 1, I don't finish it, and here is the second one. Now I finish them together, and here I have a decrease. And the rest of this round I'm simply going to make a double crochet into each double crochet. And at the end of the round I join with a slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet. So this way I don't have that space in between double crochets the way I had over here when I was working on the back of the sweater. Next round I'm going to crochet without decreases, so I make 1 chain, pull it a bit higher, and make a double crochet into the first double crochet. This is my decrease in the previous round, so I just work 1 double crochet into it, and the rest of the round I simply work a double crochet into each double crochet. And at the end of the round I join with a slip stitch. Now the next round is going to be a round with a decrease again, so I make 1 chain, then I make a double crochet into the first double crochet, And over the next 2 double crochets, I'm going to make a decrease. So 2 double crochets finish together, and the rest of the round is simply a double crochet worked into each double crochet. And that's how I'm going to continue crocheting my sleeve. There's going to be one round with a decrease, next round with no decrease, then one round with a decrease, next round with no decrease. Here I crocheted the sleeve, making decreases. I made decreases in every other round. So one round with no decreases, one round with a decrease, one round no decrease, one round with a decrease. But depending on your size and what yarn you're using, you might have to make decreases for every 3 rounds. And I crocheted my sleeve 17 inches long, measuring from the underarm. And now I'm going to make a cuff, and I'm going to crochet cuff exactly the same way as I did the ribbon at the bottom of the sweater. I will basically alternate front post double crochet and a back post double crochet, front post double crochet and a back post double crochet, and I'm going to make 6 rounds in total. So just the way I crocheted before, I start with a front post double crochet, then a back post double crochet, a front post double crochet and a back post double crochet, and so on. Both sleeves are now done, and I have this much yarn left. I'm going to attach it over here on the back, and I'm going to crochet around, alternating front post double crochet and back post double crochet around the neck of my sweater, and hopefully this is gonna be enough yarn for at least 1 round. And over here, as I reach these 2 double crochets of the Raglan line, I'm going to crochet around both of them. So I'm going to make a back post double crochet around both of them, and then I just continue alternating a front post double crochet and a back post double crochet. And on the next one, these 2 double crochets of the next Raglan line, I'm going to do the same thing. I will make a double crochet grabbing both of them. And I made a second round of front post and back post double crochets. So in total I have 2 rounds over here around the neck. And now I can fasten off and hide the yarn tail. My sweater is now finished, but I really don't like this seam on the back side. So I found this blue ribbon in my craft supplies, and I think this blue looks pretty good with this green. So what I want to try to do is lacing the ribbon over this seam and then making a bow on the top. So we'll see how that's gonna look. And here what it looks like. So I used a safety pin to lace the ribbon through, then I tied a bow. I'm going to cut the bow over here and then just use a regular sewing needle and thread to secure the ribbon over here and also on the bottom. And that's gonna be my creative solution to hide the ugly seam on the back of my sweater.